Inventory is up, days on market are up, and the prices are still inching higher. So why does it feel like St. George real estate market is stuck? And is this your window to buy smart or sell strategically? Stick with me in the next few minutes, just might save you thousands. Hey, I'm Nick Rostopchin, one half of a top 3% real estate team right here in Washington County. We help retirees and relocation clients land the right home and, more importantly, the right lifestyle right here in St. George, Utah. Today, we're going to talk about why the real estate market feels stagnant, what October real estate numbers really mean, and what new mortgage ideas can affect affordability of the housing pricing. Based on some of the previous comments, I know that a lot of our viewers tune into these videos just so they could gather relevant market data. So without further ado, let's dive into the numbers and talk a little bit about the October number for St. George real estate market. We had 5.67 months of inventory, which is up by 15% year over year, which means we had more choice and more negotiation room. Median sale price was at $540,000, which is up by 3.3% year over year. Prices are sticky right now. We had a total of 328 listings that sold in October, which is about normal. Under contract, we saw 372 listings, which is up by 15% year over year, which means buyers are still active. Total number of active listings was at 1,987, which is up by 20% year over year, which means we have a bigger shelf of inventory. We saw a total of 602 new listings, which is up by 7.5% year over year, which means we have a lot more fresh options. Average days on the market are at 75, which is up by 29% year over year. It means that the homes are actually beginning to sit a little bit longer. Sold to list ratio was at 98%, which means there's some room for negotiation, but not quite a fire sale yet. St. George real estate market is so close to being a buyer's market, but there is still a catch that keeps prices from rolling over. So let's address the tension in our current housing market. Millions of homeowners are sitting on 3 to 4% interest rates on their current properties. Thinking about trading that rate for 6 to 7% is absolutely painful. So as a result, we're seeing fewer truly motivated sellers in our current housing market. Let's address sticky prices. Even with more inventory, many sellers are still anchored to the 2022 peak expectations. They will provide credits, but will still refuse from more reasonable prices or dropping their price by a substantial amount. Let's address uneven demand. Relocation and retirement buyers are still moving, and the total number of pending transactions is up by nearly 15%, meaning that the demand isn't dead. In 2025, average home seller is experiencing higher carry costs, while insurance, HOA dues, and maintenance costs are rising. So are the days on the market, but most sellers prefer to provide concessions over price cuts. This cocktail creates a slow motion market. We see more listings, longer days on market, and more selective deals without a broad price slide. So is St. George in the buyer's market? Well, classic buyer's market typically starts at around 6 months of supply of inventory. Currently, we're at 5.67 months of supply, so we're close, but not quite. Functionally, though, buyers have leverage in almost all segments of our current real estate market. Stale listings, dated homes, as well as a lot of the new construction deals. There are plenty of deals to have in our Southern Utah real estate market right now. Want proof? Here's how one policy shift created a win for one of my buyers. This fall, we've helped several buyers secure deals that are at least 2% below asking or with substantial seller contributions. One standout, Sand Hollow Retreats. Our clients wanted a second home, not an Airbnb. We found a luxury 3,000 square foot home that was being sold turnkey, fully furnished. The listing originally started at over $697,000. We just closed at $600,000. What a steal. So how did this deal come about? Sand Hollow Retreats HOA intended to reduce the short-term zoning density in order to help rents for the current short-term owners. So after the property changes ownership, the short-term rental was no longer allowed, which essentially cooled the investor demand because anybody that was looking to buy a short-term rental couldn't do so, even if it was zoned while it was listing on the market. It wasn't a big deal for our buyer, so it was actually a win. Your end goal and local policy dynamics can turn a problem into a discount.
All right, next, I'd like to address the topic of affordability. In 2025, the average age of a first-time home buyer in America is 40 years old. It is no secret that it has become nearly impossible for first-time home buyers to purchase a home in America. The American dream is starting to vanish simply because it is getting very, very challenging for people to purchase homes without transferring some equity. So the President of the United States is currently floating two ideas to solve the affordability crisis. Feel free to chime in the comments on how you guys feel about these potential ideas. I personally don't know how they will materialize or whether or not they will actually solve anything, but these two ideas are 50-year mortgages and portable rate mortgages. Both the ideas are pretty interesting if used correctly, my professional opinion. Now, prior to recording this video, I talked to several of our lenders. While the idea of 50-year mortgages is a little bit older than the idea of portable rate mortgages, neither loan product is available as of yet. Let's talk a little bit about 50-year mortgages. A lot of people see it as a negative thing where the only entity that's going to win from this is going to be the bank. And of course, the average consumer is just prolonging the duration of time during which they pay principal plus interest on their property. Therefore, it takes a lot longer to build equity. The positive outcome is that, of course, you would lower the monthly mortgage payment, possibly just enough for somebody to get into the first home. Again, it's hard for me to comment on this because I don't have a specific example I could break down for you guys. If you turn to the internet and look in social media, you have probably seen all of these graphics by now where the comparison of a 30-year mortgage versus a 50-year mortgage at the same rate proposes that you would essentially save about $300 a month on a $500,000 mortgage while paying nearly double in interest over the life of the loan. It is hard to tell what these loans will actually look like, and in some cases, having interest-only payments that are front-loaded might just give somebody an opportunity to get into a new home versus renting or sitting on the sidelines. Portable rate mortgages is an even more interesting concept, which basically assumes that if you have a mortgage with a low rate for X amount, let's say you have a $500,000 mortgage that is currently financed at 2.5%. You can then take that mortgage with you, put the property on the market, and finance your next home with that $500,000 chunk that is financed at your 2.5%, and then borrow the difference or bring the difference in cash. Now, one major challenge that I currently see is all of the mortgage instruments that are currently recorded in America have clause due on sale, meaning that $500,000 balance or whatever that balance may be has to be paid off before you could sell your property. In any event, if either of these options comes to fruition and it works out as a potential solution, I think we will see a little bit more inventory hit the market because those folks that are holding on to their low rates are going to feel okay parting with their 2.5% mortgage or with their property that they can now afford, and they could either move up or downsize. So we'll definitely see a positive impact on inventory. But on the other side, we'll see more demand, which may keep or push the current prices up as the demand increases. Curious to see what you guys think about that, as it has been a controversial topic. So please feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to start a conversation. In addition to 50-year mortgages and portable rate mortgages, December 1st of 2025 is the target date for the Fed to pivot their policy, meaning the US is going to go from quantitative tightening to quantitative easement. In short, we're going to turn the money printers back on, and the Fed is looking to inject more money and more credit into the economy, which is going to affect everything from the stock market to mortgages to the labor market and everything else. And we just don't know what we don't know as of yet. But if the affordability improves, it is definitely not going to indicate that the housing prices are going down.
If you're visiting soon, we've made your scouting trip a lot easier. If you plan on visiting Southern Utah soon, you probably already know there is a lot to do, a lot to see, and a few great restaurants to check out while you're here. We created a free St. George relocation guide with our favorite places and direct links to their Google pages, so navigation is a breeze. It'll help you get the best use of your time and add a few Southern Utah favorites to your list. You're going to wish you had it for your trip.
So here's what our clients are doing today in order to win in this market. There's a couple of things that you could look out for, and there's a couple of things that have been incredible for our buyers that are making deals come together in really most of 2025. If you target listings that sit on the market for 60 to 75 days, that sweet spot, typically you could get the seller to agree to a lower purchase price. In most cases, the seller would be willing to negotiate anywhere from 2 to about 3% below asking. Another thing that you could do as a buyer, if the mortgage rates are affecting the affordability, is ask for a 2 to 3% buy down. In other words, the seller could give you a credit towards a rate buy down that would allow you to get into a property with better terms until the mortgage terms change or anything improves. It at least buys you some time to be able to get into a new home at a better price. Now, I will caution you with one word of advice on this one here. There were a lot of real estate agents and mortgage lenders that just a few years ago were screaming from the rooftops, marry the property, date the rate. I do not prescribe to that belief. I would always recommend that you buy a home that you could comfortably afford with or without the rate buy down. Rate buy down is just the cherry on the cake. It is something that allows you to put yourself in a better financial position and perhaps save the difference, put it away into a performing portfolio or invest it into something else, just so that when the opportunity to refinance that loan comes up, you've got a second nesting egg. Don't count that as an opportunity to get into a home that you couldn't afford to begin with. Another great area of opportunity lies within new construction. A lot of Southern Utah home builders are practically competing against themselves as well as existing inventory. So a lot of new construction is actually priced very aggressively, and you could often get a really good deal on a new home, often a better deal than you would on a resale in our current real estate market. But there are a lot of builders that are putting out spec houses right now, and the quality of construction greatly varies from one builder to the next, and this is where local expertise comes in very, very handy. It is imperative that you work with somebody that knows the builders, knows the areas, and knows how well these homes are constructed and what sort of quality you're getting into. Please feel free to reach out to Michonne and I for our word of advice on which builders to work with and which builders to avoid. Would be happy to help point you in the right direction and help you utilize new construction incentives to the maximum. One other thing to consider if you pivot towards new construction is that even though there are some substantial savings on new construction, you can also expect to spend $20,000 to $30,000 after closing on that new construction, because as you close on a newly built home, you have to consider things like window coverings, landscaping, appliances, all of the small things that typically come standard with a resale home. And if you're looking at purchasing a resale home, always prioritize location and condition of the property in order to utilize the most upside swing after you close on that home.
A lot of our clients start their relocation journey remote and are often flying completely blind as they are new to the area.
The information online isn't always accurate or limited, so having real experience on the ground could mean avoiding making a mistake, which could cost you thousands.
But let's define experience. Everybody has an uncle or a friend that's been selling real estate for over 30 years. But only those of us that sell real estate full-time know that Uncle Joe has only been selling 1 to 2 homes per year.
Some people are willing to do it for less, but there's always a reason why they're willing to take less. Michonne and I are ranked amongst top 3% of all realtors in St. George, Utah, which means we perform at high level 365 days a year, no exceptions. So if you're thinking about retiring here, call, text, or email us, and we will find a home and a lifestyle that fit both your budget and your dreams.
If you're thinking about selling soon, you can still win if you play defense. Price, condition, and location are the 3 tangibles that affect any home and any home seller in any market. Today's market is no different. One of the most important things is knowing how to price your home right. As a seller, it is difficult to detach yourself from the pricing of yesterday when things were going over asking with multiple offers. Unfortunately, that is not the case in the real estate market of 2025, so it is imperative that you price your listing based on today's comps, condition of the property. It is important to know your lane and know exactly where your home ranks in terms of improvements and overall condition and overall demand for the particular property. Presentation matters. Doing a pre-listing inspection, making sure that everything looks perfect, maybe even doing some light improvements could go a long way. Knowing how to utilize your concessions can increase your chances of getting close to what you're asking and actually improving the metric for list versus close ratio. You would like to know what it would take in order to make your home the obvious choice in this market. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can schedule an obligation-free consultation and help you get an idea on what exactly it would take to make your home the obvious choice for the buyers in 2025 real estate market. Bottom line, strategy beats timing, especially in a slow motion market. Buyers have selective leverage. The sellers can still win with precision. We are in a near buyer's market based on the current inventory, but the rate lock-ins are keeping our market and the pricing from sliding. Like, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments below. Tell me which neighborhoods you'd like to see me break down next, and I will be sure to cover them in our next update.